It's time for the Tahryn and Karen Show. Two travel agents. One wild ride.
Welcome to the Tahryn and Karen Show.
I'm Tahryn.
I'm Karen. And today, we're here to talk to you about some fun things. First of all, Tahryn, how's your week been going? Been going
Week
okay?
has been fantastic. It's been busy. We have a lot of people departing for Europe already for the summer. So that's been super busy getting folks out the door. The last minute booking trend definitely continues. We talked about that a little bit last week. And then I had a super fun day yesterday doing some photo shoot work, which we're going to talk about in another episode. But it's been good. How about your week? How are you doing?
Good. It's been good. It's been hot here in Wisconsin. Hot. Like 85. We don't have that yet in Wisconsin. It's been crazy.
I saw you're going to get some storms tomorrow, right? Like tornado warnings and stuff.
Yeah, bring it on. And not tornadoes. I'm praying for hail for my roof, but that's besides the point.
We might edit that out.
Right. It's all right. It's all good. But otherwise it's been a good week. Busy week. People, I'm seeing that last minute travel as well. It's kind of crazy. So we're working on some bigger itineraries for Europe. I love planning Europe right now. It's just super fun and exciting and a lot to learn. But today, I know we kind of want to talk about bridal fairs. Because in the last episode, you had referenced that you are working on some of your materials and stuff for bridal fairs. So let's talk a little bit about the fun, the greatness of bridal fairs. But we can also share a few kind of like gotchas that you want to watch out with bridal fairs as well.
Challenges, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So this is my 4th year with this particular show. So it's coming up on June 8th, which is a Sunday. It is the New Jersey Bridal Expo at one of the convention centers here in Edison, New Jersey. So if you're in the market and interested in attending or showing as an agent. So I started bridal shows like right after COVID is when I started, kind of dipping my foot in that and experimented with a couple different locations. I think a lot of it depends on the show promoter. How are they attracting, engaged couples to the show?
Yeah.
What are the, how big of a show it is? There are shows, at least in my market, and I'd love to hear how it is on yours, but some of the reception halls hold their own shows. And so it's a much smaller, more intimate show with maybe you'll get 20, 30 brides that come through. Then there's, more moderately sized ones. I personally, if I'm going to go through the effort and the expense of, bringing all of that stuff. So it's, you have to do a lot of prep for your booth. I want the biggest shows I can get.
Yep.
And so
Absolutely.
in this market, New Jersey area, I actually go north of where I live. I go about 45 minutes to an hour north for the bigger shows that pull people from the New York City markets as well, and Connecticut, and a little bit into Philadelphia. So it took me a while to kind of land on shows that produce the volume foot traffic and got me, significant leads coming out of that show. So like I said, this particular show is my 4th year with them. Every year consistently has been crazy busy. Like as soon as the show opens, we're 3 and 4 deep at the table. There's usually me, my husband, and I co-op my shows. So that's a whole nother piece of this.
Yeah.
So co-op means one of your vendors is partnering with you for your show space. And you're exclusively talking about their brands for the show. And so I do mine with Sandals and Beaches, primarily sandals for honeymoons. And they send a rep to come with me to the show. So my local BDM that we talked about last time, we talked about BDMs. So my BDM joins me for that show. And she works the floor with us and, talks to couples and talks about the brand. So Sandals brand recognition definitely brings the traffic over
Yep.
to us.
Yes, most
There are
definitely.
other agents, like you're always going to find other travel agents at a bridal fair, right? Because everybody's wants to get a piece of that travel or honeymoon and destination wedding market. But Sandals will only co-op one travel agency per show. So you have to get in with your BDM early, get on their list, say, I want to do this show, and get them to commit for you. There's paperwork you have to do to submit for co-op and all that good stuff. But so since I started doing this particular show, she just renews me every year.
Nice.
Yeah, which is great. But it is, so like I said, it's a good way, I think, to get in front of an engaged audience, so it's all people that obviously are engaged and looking for wedding vendors. I think for travel agents, at least on the honeymoon side of our business, we typically come later in the process than when they're at a bridal show.
Yeah, I think for us though, it's like we're warming the lead at that point, right?
Yes.
Like we're even though we still might be out 6 to 9 months for them, we're creating that brand recognition by being there. So I always look at a bridal fair as, yes, it's great if I walk away with 5 people who want to have appointments with me in the next couple weeks. But I also look at how many people came from me that whole prior next year, right? Like,
absolutely.
Talking
it's
about,
long lead game, right? Like, it's not an immediate.
I wish it was immediate. I wish it was immediate.
It is. Like, you'll have, like, so with when you call up with Sandals, part of that agreement is you have to host a VIP Caribbean night kind of thing. It's like a webinar that people jump on and they can ask questions and, talk about, ask us specific questions. Like me and my BDM do it. They can ask specific questions about resorts they're interested in. We share, maybe some insights on some of the new stuff that's coming or the new resorts. So that's sometimes that produces a couple bookings out of the gate, but a lot of times, like Karen said, it's a longer play. So for, in my market, there's a lot of shows, right? Between New York, Philadelphia, New Jersey. I've gotten a little bit tighter about how I select my shows. Like I said, I want big, I want markets that sustain. So weddings in my area typically average at least $50,000 to $60,000 for a wedding, especially outside of Manhattan. So they're big money weddings. And so I'd love to hear the brides in those markets. They typically have healthier budgets for their honeymoons as well. So that's why, I've seen more success in the Northern Jersey shows than I have in Southern Jersey. Not to say that they don't do big weddings, but it just seems to be a little bit different when it comes to the honeymoon. What do you see in your area?
Well, so, around me, I would say there's shows and then there's the big shows. So kind of like what you're talking about. For me, the big shows in January. And that one's a 2-day event. And that's like the event for the year.
Okay. Where is that one? Is that in Madison or is that in?
Yeah, so that's in downtown Madison. And you've got almost 400 vendors at that one. Like, it's a huge 2-day show. Yeah, I mean, and we need to talk about like setup and stuff because that oh my goodness, setting up for that is like, oh my God, if you could have seen me setting that up this year, it was a joke. I mean, you would have sat there and laughed the entire time. But there's some smaller ones, like you say, at the hotels and like local resorts and stuff that happen throughout the year. I've tried some of them and they might, have 15 to 30 vendors there. My first one I ever did, oh my God, this was not at the big one. I'm glad I did it. I will say I'm glad I tried a smaller one first. Because I didn't know what to expect. But that one was a joke. Do your research at what vendors are coming in because there wasn't even a bridal gown, Tahryn. No bridal gown. No bridal gown vendor. If you wanted a tux for your groom, there was like 10 of them. You could have gotten one. The other one was boudoir photos. I was like, okay, so I'm competing against tuxes, boudoir photos, and we had some chiropractic care there. Like, it was just a hodgepodge. it was great. Talked to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But what I realized is that it's not worth the bang for the buck for me. So it's definitely that big one that we
Mhm.
do. I have found, being from Wisconsin, it's more about honeymoons,
Okay.
and even just visibility of like, here's my services
Yeah.
versus,
It's
you know,
definitely planting that seed, and I think we're gonna do a whole another episode about,
so,
kind of nurturing the lead
yep,
after the show, but in this one, it's interesting, like you said, I feel like the vendors, at least here, that promote the shows, I should just call them promoters or producers, whatever you call them,
yep,
um, I find that they don't tell you who's showing. Like, I've asked, I'd
yep,
be like, "Hey, what other travel agencies are showing?" And they won't give me names, but they say they cap it at 10% or 15%
mm,
of the total vendor list so that it's not oversaturated in one particular type of vendor. And then they say they do their best to kind of space us out. So if I'm on this side, they try to put them
yep,
over there,
yep.
which is good.
Yeah, I would say I experienced kind of the same thing where they actually did give us the list of vendors, and I appreciated that.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's nice.
They gave us the whole floor map, which I think is just being like, you're going to see each other there anyways. I would say I had the best experience is that even though I think there was 4 or 5 of us there, again,
Yeah.
eh, everybody gets so concerned about, oh my God, you're going to steal business from me. Oh my God, you're going to steal business from.
I
Trust
don't
me,
think
people,
so.
there is enough business around for everybody, right?
There
Like,
really is.
and everybody's got their niche. So like I actually was able to connect with another travel agent who her primary um focus is destination weddings. So people were coming to her and saying, "Hey, I want to book a trip to Alaska." She's like, "Go see Wells to
And
Wells Travel."
yeah, don't do that.
And like, and it was like how we can learn from each other. It's not like
Yeah,
I get so I get so tired when agents are like, "Oh my God, you're competing." No, we're not competing. Like,
we're really
if
not. And I think like it's also, I almost think of it as like if you go back to your dating days, right? Like you're not going to click with every single person you go on
no,
a date. So you may talk to a couple that at the table there's just no chemistry, and you do your best to kind of make a connection, but sometimes it just doesn't happen, and that's okay. And maybe the person across the hall they feel better with for whatever reason, and that's okay.
right.
A lot of times we see, especially towards the end of the show, where they've kind of already been around and they're maybe just doing like the final lap, or they're coming down a lane they didn't come down before. They may already have the brochures, because the brochures that I bring are available to every travel agent in the country.
Yep.
And so if there are other agents there, especially for, co-oping with Sandals and Beaches, they're one of the last few companies that actually print
Right.
brochures.
Yep.
Um, and a lot of people like to have something in their hand, especially, when they're at the early phase of, maybe they just got
Right.
engaged, or, they're still shopping for like their primary vendors, primary being like reception hall, photo, video, that kind of thing. They're still dreaming in the dreaming phase about honeymoons. And so
Right.
having those brochures to kind of flip through gets their mind kind of clicking. And whether they wind up at Sandals or, all inclusive or the Caribbean or somewhere else, it's a physical piece that reminds them of who I am. I have a sticker on every single
Yep.
brochure. It's actually a QR code with my information on it. But if they scan that code, it has a link to schedule time with me. It has a link to the virtual meeting that I just was talking about with my Sandals
Yep.
PDM. And then there's a host of other options on there that they can quickly kind of self-identify. Okay, I'm interested in a wedding, I go here. If I'm interested in a
Right.
honeymoon, I go here. So that I made that change about, this will be the 3rd year with those stickers. And that's been incredibly successful for us, because we could just be at the show and just say, hey, I print out a big one for the table, and then it's on
Yep.
every piece of brochure, and they're scanning it right there and signing up
Right.
for the webinar. And whether it's not really a webinar, it's like an info session, whether or not they come is a whole nother a whole nother
A whole
topic.
nother
But
thing. What's it? Right.
they are I could track the metrics on my link tree and see how many clicks I got on that day, and it does go up. So
Yeah, I think that's the big thing right now is just trying to come up with something of value to engage them, right? Like
Yes.
to get them to come into the booth. I have been noticing that these younger brides are hesitant. A lot of times they walk by.
Really?
You should have seen me at this last one. Like I created these cute little suitcases that you had to fold and do everything. And I put my business card in and some
You
Hershey Kisses. Okay.
origami.
A
Arts
lot
and
of
crafts.
arts and crafts, a lot of work,
I would have ate
super
all the
cute.
chocolate.
Oh my
And
God.
then,
That's what I'm doing now with the leftover ones. Actually, I'm going to be throwing them at a parade here coming up. But I'm
there
like,
you go.
but like, it's a lot of work.
It
But
is.
so I'm sitting there like throwing them out into the middle of the aisle, like, oh, stop. You missed
Take one.
something.
Take one.
Like come get your free box of chocolate. Because I even had up like a sign up for a free couples massage. They just walk right by it. Like,
Really?
not what I'm into. And so, and I thought maybe that'd be like a day one trend, like, okay, whatever, people are busy.
Yeah.
No, it was like
Same
the whole
thing.
weekend, same thing. And I was talking to some other people about it. And so it's really coming up with what is that value item that is going to draw them into your booth? I mean, outside of, like I said to my husband, I'm like, listen, you need to build me a tiki hut that I'm going to get electricity. I'm going to serve margaritas. And that is how I'm going to get people into my booth.
You will be packed.
I will be back. I don't think anybody will be talking to me about trips, but they'll have a good
Right.
time.
Yeah, you'll be having a happy hour. And so your booth
But
space, are you like, what is the typical setup at your shows? Is it like a 10 by 10 space? Is it a different setup? Like, what do you got?
so it's a 10 by 10 space that you can basically do whatever you want within it. You get the
Okay.
nice black carpet, the background.
Oh, they give you
So
carpet? Wow, fancy.
yeah. And so, oh my God, I would not be able to handle it without carpet.
You do
You
not
know,
get carpet. You have to pay for carpet here.
oh yeah, no, our vendor is amazing. We got carpet, the backdrop, everything's set up, and you get one table. So like
Okay.
I always bring in another table and then like a little
Yeah.
table that
Do
kind
you
of
do
draws
it as
people
like a
in.
U shape or an L shape? Like, how do you set it up?
Well, so Tahryn, that's an interesting question because the first time I did it, I was set up as a U. The
Okay.
second time I did it with the tables on the outside. So it's more like a conversation, like
Yeah.
come in, like honeymoon information on one side, wedding information on the other.
Yeah.
No one took a lot of my collateral, so I still have it.
Okay. Was that the one you were
But
saying they were
I will be
hesitant to
sticking over
like
it this
come
next year
into the
with new
space?
updated prices. Yeah. So then I'm
Yeah.
like, do I go back to more of the U? Because like, how do you set up? How do you set your space?
So so the first 2 years I was on a corner, which was amazing because we were like on a main aisle and we were capturing people from both sides. And so we had like basically like we put the tables like this in the corner, like a L shape in the corner of the aisle to actually create a corner. And so we were able to station on both sides and kind of intercept. The past last 2 years, oh sorry, last year we were in a regular like stall shape, so we were in a
Okay.
run of everybody, and so everybody's got a 10 by 10, and in our market all you get is a half, almost like I'd say like a 3-foot pipe and drape down each side, and then there's
Okay.
a pipe and drape across the back.
Yep.
So last year what we did is we put one table on each side. We have to pay for the tables. You pay extra if you want them skirted. You have to pay
Oh,
for a garbage can. You have to pay for a chair. Like everything is a la carte. So I don't do electricity anymore. I stopped bringing the
nope.
TV because it was just like too much, and the
Yep.
stand was like falling down. So now I do for this show, I have a very nice printed 10 by 10 canvas banner in the back. It's a beautiful shot of like an overwater bungalow. It's got my logo at the top. And then I have the 2 tables that I bought tablecloths, and then I have runners with my brand name on them. And then Sandals brings their runner for the other table. And then my BDM has like those pop-up fabric displays. So we'll use those kind of, we'll
Yep.
kind of figure it out based on like where the boot, because I won't know until I think 2 weeks before they tell me where I'm going to be. So we'll kind of figure it out. But I think this year, to your point, like honeymoons on one side, weddings is going to be one section. New for this year, I'm going to try a larger sign just around like a wedding, almost like a wedding conversation starter. So it's like reception or wedding for up to $3,850, which is one of Sandal's packages. I've been hearing from their wedding specialist that that's been getting a lot of traction at shows, at least getting people in to have a conversation. So, it's kind of that price point, especially in a market here where, you maybe don't want to drop 50, 60 grand on a wedding.
Right.
That's a really, really attractive price point. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work. But I was playing around with, so in years past, I was giving away like those rubber bracelets, with like my name on it.
Yeah.
But I've had them, I guess nobody's taking them because I still have some.
Yeah, I know. It's like tchotchkes, right? Like, I mean, I'd love to hear from the community even, like what, if you're watching, right? Like, what is your booth setup like? Right. Or sorry, listening. Yeah, choose that too.
Watching. We're both.
Listening, watching, both. Like, what's your, like, proven way to set up your booth? Or what's your tchotchke that you hand out that everybody is like, I got to have, right? Because when you go to these wedding shows, right? Like if you're handing away food, you got people lined up because, I mean, let's be honest, I even go over and get some food, right? Like, okay, I got to try this out. But it's hard to get people to come in. And so, like, no one wants a pen. They get pens from everybody, chapstick, whatever. But it's like, what's your tchotchke that gets people in the door to talk? Or what's your, I love your idea about that big sign. It's like, instead of me putting out there, like, sign up for a couples massage, want a honeymoon under $5,000? Talk to me.
So usually I've played around with different things too. Like I would do like a printout. I take like, for example, the week of the show, I take the like a good 777 deal that I want to talk about, and I'll put that on there. And it might not draw somebody in, but when they are at the table and we're talking and I'm kind of going through the questions that I've the questions I asked help to kind of quickly identify, are they a wedding person or are they a honeymoon person? And then that steers the conversation. So if I'm talking to them about a specific island and it's on 777, or maybe they're a little bit, giving off price conscious vibes, I could say, oh, hey, look at this. Maybe this isn't the one for you, but every week it kind of like, I like to have different things at the table to kind of steer the conversation when I need to. I give away a honeymoon planning guide. So I have printed like heavy cardstock planning guides. It's basically like a timeline. And that's been super successful. They come over. I've had even other travel agents come over and take one. And I'm kind of like, okay, here. I mean, it's not like, I wouldn't say it's anything proprietary. It's my take on it, right? Like, I think you should be planning your honeymoon a year in advance or more if you can, depending on the location. All the magazines probably say 6 to 9 months, but I'm like, the sooner the better, especially, it feels a little counterintuitive, I think, for clients, not necessarily for travel agents, but like those high-end suites, they go first. And so if you want that overwater bungalow, you want the villa with the private pool, like you got to book that way in advance. And so I try to do some education at the table, especially because like the overwater picture I show behind me in my backdrop, they're like, that's what I want. And so that's the catalyst of the conversation. And you can say, look, when are you getting married? Like, we need to do this now. And so you try to create some urgency, but I don't ever like to be like fake urgency. Like, I want to be honest.
I want to be real.
Yeah, I'm one of my brand hallmarks for my business and myself is like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm not like, I don't inflect my opinion unless you ask me, but I'm going to tell you the reality. Like, if you're, you want to go next month and you want an overwater bungalow for a week, you're probably not going to get it, right? Not in the Caribbean, maybe somewhere else. But part of my job is like, okay, well, let's educate you. Like, here's the timeline for something like that. And here's what something like that really costs unless you go overseas. And do you have the time to do that? Do you want to fly that far? So it kind of starts the conversation. And if you have like a nice rapport, then you can say, hey, let's schedule some time. We can talk about it some more. They can scan the QR code and schedule time with me right from there. So
I think that's going to kind of be Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a long day. I was just saying, it's by the end of the day, like I lose my voice. It's it's a lot. But like Karen was saying earlier, you may not see the return right away. And you have to have some sort of system in place to go back and track what was the actual production of that show about 12 to 18 months after.
Yeah, and you have to be able to also tell yourself, like, on my first show, I was like, yes, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna get all these bookings, and it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
And my husband, he's wise. I'm giving him props right now. He's like, I would go in thinking you're gonna get nothing, and you're just going for brand awareness. If you get one,
great.
Count that as a huge win, but go in, get your learnings, and expect nothing.
That is a wise.
It is wise. And now I go into every show like, what's my goal? Like, I think it's really important you go into these shows because
what's
number
your
one, you are spending a lot of money. Let's not beat around the bush.
Time and energy.
Time and energy. Because one, you're giving up your weekends.
Yeah.
Two, you're working at night, putting stickers on those books. Let's be honest. You're sitting in front of the TV, putting those stickers on, building the brochures, finding the brochures, lining everything up, right? Like
designing your own signs, writing your own emails.
Yeah, it is not a cheap venture. However, it does pay off, but you have to have this realistic expectations when you do these, that it is this 12 to 18 months, and you can't, here's the other thing I was saying, you can't just do one and go, I don't think it worked for me.
Yeah.
Like your job, like part of this is getting in front of people and getting the buzz out. So guess what? Brides right now, on average, unless they're doing destination weddings, right? They're getting married 18 to 24 months out from when they're getting engaged. So the chances are they're going to see you 2 years in a row, maybe 3 years in a row. Well, if you're there that many times, they're like, oh yeah, I saw them last year. Yeah, okay, I need to go talk to them now. This is not like a one and done type of thing.
Yeah. That's interesting. One of the things when you were talking came to my mind is I tried to, at least in my immediate market. Now I do, like we were talking in the first episode, we have clients all over the country, but primarily our clients come from our home areas.
Yep.
I try to show up in all of the places I can within reason in my market that this target would be, right? So I'm on the New Jersey Bride website. I'm on NewJerseyWedding.com. You'll see me in social media. You'll see me in the New Jersey Bride magazine. I do a half-page print ad in that magazine. I do some PR. Like I try to be visible in all the touch points that I can. And I try to maintain the brand consistency and the messaging so that I'm going to quote a stat, but I don't really have a quote, like a source for it, but I've heard it many, many times. And you might have heard this too. I would love to know if you have. They say you have to contact somebody at least 7 times for them to start paying attention.
Yep. And, when you brought that up, I just attended a webinar earlier this week, and they're like, you've got to warm the lead. So you're going to these bridal fairs. It's not about warming the lead a week before the bridal fair or 2 weeks. You got to be 6 weeks before that bridal fair. You got to be in all your social media. You got to be blasting. You got to be sending out emails. You've got to be paying for ads. You've got to be, so that they do have some name recognition when they come there, and they're like, I've been hearing everything about Short to See. Like,
I think we also have to be like, I wouldn't be out there. So me personally, I wouldn't be spending money around come see me at the show, because that's the promoter's responsibility. But
that's not what you don't promote that.
I'm in this market. I'm your local agent. I'm an expert in X, Y, and Z areas, or whatever you think that relevant message is. I was on a webinar a few weeks ago that had a very similar tip, was like, go out like 3 or 4 weeks before the show and geo-target around that area the show pulls from, and start to get your brand up in front of people. And then I think the whole next episode, or not future episode, will be how do you post show start to really nurture that relationship. And you probably hear it as, drip campaign, lead warming, or, whatever term you want to call it. That's a whole nother.
It's a whole nother
topic for another day.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll also talk about, I just recently joined the Knot and Wedding Wire.
Yes.
And have my business out there as well, because that is definitely targeted audiences that I think we can definitely add to another show. So, I mean, unless you've got anything else, we could literally, let's be honest.
We could talk for about 2 hours on this. We'll continue it in another episode.
We definitely are going to have a part 2, because I want to hear all about your event and how it went. Hopefully there's some fun little things that come up. I know that I could talk a lot about the food I ate at the last one, because it's fantastic. But I wish you luck at your show. I wish you luck at your show, and we'll see you guys at our next podcast. Next episode coming up.
Don't forget to follow us and check out our next episode.
Yeah, and if there's topics you want to hear about, let us know. Talk to you soon.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Tahryn and Karen Show. Presented by Walls. 2 Walls, Travel and Shore to see vacations.